How does that sound, Scott? Does that sound good? Welcome on behalf of the Park, Rec, and Forestry Department, along with the Planning Department. I'd like to welcome all of you to our open house, which we're going to utilize to discuss our park and open space plan. The plan that we are currently working under was from 2015 to 2020. So we're scheduled to get that updated. And just for your information, there's been some discussion on whether it's going to be a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. It is going to be a 5-year update. So we can kind of set that question to rest at this point. I am Scott. I'm your Park, Rec, and Forestry Director. With me tonight, we have Wade Thompson from the Planning Department, and he's actually the architect or the author of our previous plan, so we're very thankful to have him here tonight. I did want to recognize some of our dignitaries. We have Julia Radafrada and Gabriella Gerhardt. They're older people. We've got Patrick Cheney, Katie McDonald, and Christina, who are Park Commission members. And then we actually have Sue Easterday, who's a Park Commission member. Sarah Schrader is a Park Commission member, and then Mayor Aaron Richardson is all with us tonight. So welcome. Thanks for your time. In the interest of time, I'm going to hand it right over to Wade, and then he'll run through the presentation. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Scott. Scott Yarborough, are we good with the mic? All right. Again, thanks for coming tonight. I think I know a lot of you. For those that I don't, I'm Wade Thompson with City Planning Department. And as Scott mentioned, we're here tonight to talk about the update to our parks plan. So just a few things we want to cover. We'll talk overview, kind of big picture. We'll talk timeline and process, and then certainly we can take any questions or comments the group might have. So beginning at the beginning, as they say, what is our plan? Well, essentially it provides for a holistic and integrated vision and also recommended action items to achieve that vision for the city's park, open space, and rec system over a 5-year period. Now, it was last updated in 2016, as Scott mentioned. That update was fairly comprehensive and fairly thorough, so we'll talk more about what that means for this update. In terms of how the plan's organized, it is a 3-section plan. Section 1 is an executive summary. Section 2 is essentially existing conditions, basically data. And Section 3 are recommended action items, which is really kind of the meat of the plan. So let's talk more about what those sections entail. Again, Section 2 is really about a lot of data. We look at stakeholder perceptions. We look at standards for our park system. We look at the way we assess our park system, how we evaluate it. We essentially provide an inventory, all the parks that are in our system, what they have at them. We talk about tools to implement our plan. And then we also identify issues. Basically, as a result of those previous categories, we really identify, again, issues related to our park system. So what are those issues? Well, there's a laundry list there. I'm not going to read them all to you. But again, these issues were identified based on that existing conditions report. So things like, park uses, park sizes, where are parks located, how do we manage our resources, how do we provide quality services, and how do we maintain and pay for our parks. And then Section 3, again, is really the meat of the plan, action items. Some people call them, goals or policies. We call them action items. And again, the action items are developed to address those issues that we just talked about. There are 16 action items in our current plan. They are fairly prescriptive, fairly specific. And I do want to point out they are up here if folks want to take a look at them after the meeting. But we really have done a good job, I think, in terms of moving on those action items. Various items have been completed or are in the process of being completed. So obviously, our plan is a living document. It's not just sitting on a shelf. So talking a little bit more in detail about what's kind of in our plan and in our action items, it's really about maintaining and expanding what's good about our current park system, but also looking to the future. So we want to make sure we're relevant with new trends in park and recreation to essentially match changing socioeconomic demographics and demands. So ideas like social and civic spaces, public and private partnerships, as well as taking advantage of things that make Fitchburg unique, things like bike trails, agricultural land, natural resources, and then parks that are devoted to specific, what we'll call themed uses. And finally, we want to make sure we use land efficiently, make sure that our parks are in the right spot, they're the right size, and that they have things that really attract people to use them. So to me, the overriding goal of public open space, again, is outdoor recreation and socialization. Now, that can take a lot of forms. Conventional forms include basketball, volleyball courts, baseball, softball, diamonds, and play equipment. But certainly, as we talked about those changing demographics and trends, this plan is really about looking to the future and thinking about ways that we can create a park system that really addresses changing demands and changing trends. So we use the lens of what we call the 3 S's. Sociable, which is essentially about people. Solitude, which is kind of a nature, environmental element. And then seams is how we connect those, how we connect our parks to places we live, places we work, and places we play. So think about corridors, paths, and trails. Oops, that slide may not have to be in there. Let's see here. We'll skip that one. And just kind of wrapping up this idea of what our plan is really about. Again, parks are public spaces. We love it that people are invested in our parks, that they want to see them used in the right way, but they're not people's backyards, okay? That's very important. I also want to point out that new ideas and change can work and is needed for our park system to grow and adapt. 2 examples I'll use are community gardens and dog park, both really good examples of our park system. To be honest, we had a lot of opposition to get those things going. And if people go to our parks now and see those, I think most would agree that those have been amenities and benefits to our park system. And finally, just pointing out most desired potential uses in our park system. And this was based on surveying that was done for that previous parks plan. I think we had over 300 people respond to that survey. As you can see, the top 5 desired potential uses in our park system. Some we've addressed, implemented, some we haven't. But again, I think this gives you an idea of where our citizenry is looking to go with our park system. So that's kind of, again, an overview of the plan. Now I want to talk about process and timeline. And I do want to point out this is essentially what we're calling a minor plan update. It's not an overhaul, it's not a rewrite. It's essentially a tweaking, kicking the tires to make sure this plan is relevant and meets the city's needs. So this was a process approved by the Plan Commission in August of last month. Again, a minor update. And a few components I want to talk about. So we're here tonight, that's number 1. Our first kickoff meeting to get a sense of what the community thinks about our update. The second step will be work sessions at Park Commission. We will begin that next Thursday with the Park Commission meeting, and then work through about 3 work sessions through the end of the year, and hopefully wrap that up by the end of the year. After that, we'll have another public meeting similar to tonight to present that update draft, and that draft will be based on, again, 1 and 2 on this slide. And then we'll move on to our Park Commission. We'll present the draft to them as well. And then this gets a little wonky with some of our processes, but we'll basically get it up to our council. They'll kick it back to relevant committees. And then ultimately, we hope to get council approval sometime early next year. And I do want to point out these are tentative dates, subject to change, but hopefully that gives folks a kind of overview of this process. So with that, I am done with the formal presentation. We can certainly take any questions or comments the group might have. I think the thought would be for Scott to maybe kind of work the audience. So if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand and Scott will come around to you. Similarly, if folks don't want to talk tonight, I think we've got scrap paper here. certainly feel free to leave a written comment, and we'll gather that and put it in our feedback files.
And as a reminder too, people online certainly have an opportunity to ask questions if they have some. Okay. Patrick Cheney. Don't get the hold of my.
Would you back up 2 slides?
That one?
Top line, you said approved by Plan Commission. Was that a
Oh,
misspeak?
misspeak, I'm sorry. Our
Okay.
commission, yep.
Okay,
That's your question?
for now.
That's all he's got. I think we're in good shape.
I'm Holly Powell, and I'm with the Pine Ridge Neighborhood Association, and we're kind of located on McKee Road and Seminole Highway. So we have the Pine Ridge Park. Our neighborhood has about 63 homes right now, all single family, on the west side of the park. And then on the south side, it's apartment buildings, and then around the entire park is actually duplexes. So the park itself is used, I would say, mostly by the apartments and single family homes. It's kind of a mixture of young and old. The playground, mostly the younger kids. The basketball court, we have half basketball court that is highly utilized by everyone, all ages, all times of the day. So we sent an email out to our neighborhood association to get some feedback on kind of what they would like to see going forward and any wish list items. And some of the feedback we got was updating the playground itself. So our neighborhood went in 1999, and since then, nothing's been done really to the playground. A little bit on the basketball court, and we also have a shelter. But we're kind of looking for some updates since we've been around 20 years now. There's just so much use. I think we're ready for expansion. So some of what the neighborhood was interested in was some new playground equipment, maybe getting rid of the wood chips and putting in some kind of tire rubber or something like that. Routine weeding if possible. Right now we have a lot of weeds with our wood chips. Maybe additional swing sets or new equipment like a climbing dome, seesaw, rope course, just something new. For the basketball court, considering a full expansion so that there could be more games on that court. And maybe even other activities like roller hockey, outdoor yoga. We had adults interested in yoga programs. One thing that's neat about our neighborhood is the Boys and Girls Club does drop off after school almost every day for the apartments, and so maybe the Boys and Girls Club could be more active in that area and utilize that park. We also have a baseball field. I've lived in the park area for 8 years now, and Deb is with me. She's been here 21 years. And honestly, we don't see anyone using the open space yet, so we're wondering if that could be utilized for different types of sports, maybe. Soccer, lacrosse, football, frisbee, disc golf, some kind of newer sports that kids are more interested in. We also had some folks interested in a community garden, which might be an avenue. And then just some routine maintenance maybe for the shelter that we can talk at a different meeting. So we're interested in some updates if you guys are looking for a park.
Boy, that's a good list, Holly.
Yep.
Well, and you sent that to me, right?
Yep.
Very good. It may be just a general comment that we do realize, understand that we've got probably 25 or 30 playground structures within the park system, and the council is kind enough to provide some funding. We try to update one per year, so it's kind of on a rotating basis by age and those kinds of things, along with safety. We've got to make sure that they're safe and all of that, but your requests are noted, and I thank you for doing that. Yes. Me?
Sonia Hackle would like to ask if there's going to be ways that the public can make recommendations for specific parks.
Certainly. What I would ask is that you send me an email, if you don't mind, on your recommendation, and then we can take a look at it. So that'd be a good way to communicate to the department. Along with any other general comments or thoughts that you have, don't hesitate to ship me an email.
Michael Stevens would like to make a comment.
Thank you. I'm Michael Stevens. I'm president of the Seminole Glen Condo Home Units Owners Association. And we had a little controversy at McKee Farms Park in an unsuccessful attempt to install a beer garden in the park. And I would like to see the commission look at its action items in section 3 of the current park. You will likely hear there's no mention of beer gardens in the plan. That might be technically true. There is a reference to beer gardens in German if you do a word search. And there's language in section 3, page 5 that calls for an action item for food and drink gardens. These are references to beer gardens. There's a photo of a beer garden immediately by it. And while no park is mentioned by name, the language says that these will take place in designated city signature theme parks, of which McKee Farms Park is one of them. The language of the recommended goal always refers to food and drink, never to beer and alcohol. But when the proposal was on the Parks Commission agenda in 2018, every reference on that agenda was to food and drink concessions. Likewise, when commissioners insisted that a neighborhood meeting be held, the notice to neighbors of the park said it was about food and drink. But still, it was a proposal for a bar in the park. And so what I'm asking the commission to consider is to eliminate the language that has been used in the past to justify the leasing or setting aside permanent space for the sale of alcohol in the park. Now, we're not talking about temporary sales at special events like Festa Italia or concerts at the park or Jazz at 5. This would not affect citizens bringing their own alcoholic beverages to the park. Rather, the concern, whether it's at McKee or some other park, was over a year-round licensed drinking establishment that would be in business 7 days a week and for as much as 55 hours per week. And I'd suggest that certain principles should inform the plan, both on this and on other action items. One, the city should not compete with tax-paying Fitchburg businesses. In the McKee case, there are at least 32 other tax-paying businesses that sold food and drink in close distance. The city should not give special advantages to one business in terms of the rate. The park shelter currently, the rates are between $300 and $900 a day. The proposal might have provided it between $34 and $68. Third, don't sell alcohol on a permanent basis near children playgrounds area. The proposal would have set up a 7-day alcohol sales within less than 200 feet of kids crossing. And anticipate and avoid adverse impact on homeowners. The model for the proposal was a beer garden in Madison, separated from private residences by a 4-lane road and 675 feet from the nearest owners. In the Fitchburg proposal, there was no road barrier and was 396 feet from residences. In the Madison case, owners were promised no amplified sounds, but within a few years, the proprietors requested a lease change to allow amplification. Be aware of Mission Creek. Specifically, I asked that the updated plan make these changes. In section 2, pages 32, 33, was the section food, drink opportunities and public-private partnerships. And again, no opposition to public-private partnerships. Those are good things. But although there was no explicit call for alcohol sales, remove language that could be used for that. In section 3, page 5, eliminate under point 2 the words, including but not limited to those that could provide for food and drink opportunities on city system properties. Eliminate under 2A, develop a Fitchburg Park local food initiative to explore, and it lists a number of things. The key words here is food and drink garden, which appears under 2A. Eliminate that language. And eliminate photo illustrations of beer gardens on page 1 and 5. Both photos are from Milwaukee and are visual endorsements of permanent alcohol sale. And I would like to reiterate, the issue is not prohibiting alcohol sales in any form. but rather avoiding setting up a permanent bar in the park using city resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. May I ask if would you be able to send that document to us so we don't miss any of those details that you provided, Mike?
Absolutely.
Thank
Be
you
happy.
kindly. Thanks. Oh, shit, I better put my glasses on. Okay, we've got Oliver Byer, 5622 Lacey Road.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Oliver Byer. I'm 14 years old and have lived in Fitchburg my entire life. Tonight I would like to talk about why Fitchburg needs a skate park. As you may know, skateboarding was recently added to the Olympics, raising interest in the sport. Skateboarding is also growing very quickly among youth, including girls. The skateboarding industry is estimated at over $2 billion and rapidly growing. I have been interested in skateboarding since I was 6. However, learning to skate has been a challenge because Fitchburg does not have a skate park. Skateboarding is not welcome in private parking lots, so I've had to rely on my parents to drive me to neighboring towns. We have explored skate parks throughout Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa. Having to rely on my parents has severely limited my ability to get to a skate park. I've seen many skateboarders of all ages on the streets, which is obviously not safe, and within tennis courts, which is not ideal for tennis players or the skaters themselves. I believe that if we built a skate park in Fitchburg, it would be a fantastic constructive outlet for youth and others. It also gives skateboarders, rollerbladers, and scooter users a place to go instead of using business and public property, and would be a great attraction to bring people to our community. Some of the benefits of skating are both mental and physical perseverance, along with a strong sense of community and belonging. I've personally seen a very constructive and supportive community when I go to other skate parks. Alongside that, skateboarding is a very accessible sport, with some boards selling for only $30. I would also like to take this time to talk about design. I've seen many examples of poor skate park design, mainly from people who have no interest in skating otherwise. My solution for this is comprising a team of local skaters and similar figures in our community. Doing this will help make a fun, good-looking, and streamlined skate park. I would not like to have the city of Fitchburg waste money on this project because cheaper does not mean better. Spending a bit more money on this project will ensure a long-lasting, high-quality skate park. It will also make it easier to skate on, while a cheaper skate park may cause injury due to poor construction. Some skate park design ideas may be taken from exceptional skate parks across the Midwest, including Des Moines, Milwaukee, and Chicago. In conclusion, I think that a Fitchburg skate park would be a wonderful installation and would benefit the community greatly. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me speak.
Was that Oliver? Was that your first name?
Very well.
And actually, we are exploring what we're calling a bike park concept. So I'm wondering if your review of skate parks saw any facilities where you could combine skating with biking. Have you seen examples of that?
Combination of skating and...
Typically it's best to combine skating and biking because, BMXers can ruin skate park facilities. And I've seen it personally at the Monona Skate Park where the parts of the ramp and the ground are breaking because of the hard bikes. Yeah. I'm not sure. But what is that? And I forgot.
No worries.
But so generally speaking, they're probably not compatible. It'd be separate facilities for bikers. Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Tui. I live on Mary Lane, close to McGaw Park, and so I was interested in terms of, Fitchburg's a rapidly growing area, and what's kind of like the long-term planning for park expansion, new parks as, the urban area continues to kind of grow out south. And I'm particularly interested in any future expansion of McGaw Park.
I mean, is that kind of a parkland dedication question, Scott? I mean, maybe explain the process.
Yeah, I think whenever there's a new development that comes in, they're required to give us land to provide the parkland for the new residents that are going to live there. They also are required to give us dollars to develop that specific piece of property. So in theory, the new users are going to be the ones that are going to pay for everything and give us the land to start out with. Once it becomes part of the city, when it's developed, then all the taxpayers do pay their, pay for the maintenance thereof, so.
My question is this more kind of procedural? Is that kind of thing addressed in the 5-year update, or is that more a separate kind of planning activity?
So that's actually in state or city ordinance. There's a certain requirements for parkland based on the number of development units. But in terms of like location and what those parks entail, that's kind of a neighborhood community process. And I guess to that point, action item 3 in our current plan, and we're actually just starting this action item right now, is to explore revision of our city's classification and standards, just to make sure that we're getting the parks in the right spot. And when we get parks, that we can develop them, because sometimes we'll get land and we don't have money to develop it. So we want to make sure we find that balance of land and develop parks. So I think that's a goal of this current plan.
And what I might add is certainly when we develop a new park, we want to keep in mind the 3, sociable, solitude, and themes, to make sure that those themes are included in that new park property.
Any other questions or comments?
Hi, Gabriella Gerhardt. I just wanted to make you aware, too, that the Tree Advisory Committee, I think everyone is aware of this, but working on a tree protection ordinance, and part of the discussions in the Tree Advisory Committee is centered on the comprehensive plan has laid out a goal for a 30% tree canopy, and it would be nice to start thinking about that as an element of when we're expanding parks and how we can make sure that trees are a significant part, and so that we're actually expanding the tree canopy with each individual park that comes online, and not just improving that tree canopy goal. So just want to talk about the tree advisory discussions around that.
And I think we'll actually be coming to your committee, Gabriella, the next month or so to kind of get your feedback on the update. But that brings up a good point in terms of what this plan really is. It's a policy document. It's kind of a high-level visionary document. Certainly for these things to happen, to implement our action items, we need work plans and we need city resources. So this obviously sets the tone, but then for these things to happen, it takes time, money, and resources.
And there is currently a goal in the current plan for tree canopy and those kinds of things. So to add a qualifying statement or goal to reach 30% canopy or those kinds of things would really kind of give us the mechanics of working towards that goal. So that would be a good addition to the plan.
Hi, Julia Ratafrata. One of the things that I would like to see in this update is that we start looking at parks with a different lens, like connectivity and equity and access of all our parks connected to our park system. And also we should be looking also when we develop new parks, transportation, bike path, because I think this is important so everyone can enjoy our park system. Doesn't matter where do you live. Yep. Right now, in order to access to some of the park in our community, you need to drive a car. Yep. So I think we need to start thinking how we can make this, connect our parks in this system And when we develop new parks, start thinking about transportation, access to bike paths, access to other, how they are connected with other parks.
Yep, and that's a great point. That's one of our 3 S's, the seams, is really, those linear connections. How do we connect parks to where we live, where we work, and where we play other parks? So that's a good point, yep.
So, I noticed that you said their overall goal is outdoor recreation and socialization. Is there an overarching goal of conservation or natural area preservation as part of the plan as well, or is it truly focused on recreation?
I mean, I think at the core, a city park system probably is primarily, I would say recreation, socialization, but certainly there is a environmental element to it. And that's kind of the second S is the solitude. And that's just really a way of kind of maybe getting at this idea of preserving land for preservation's sake. Certainly there is that fine balance of, using park space to manage stormwater runoff. We want to kind of make sure that's the right balance there. But I think park space can serve both those rec social goals, and also that kind of environmental goal as well. And I think with things like, tree canopy and, landscaping standards, we can continue to work towards that goal.
Well, even the idea of potential uses of the current land that we have, if we have a lot of land that is mowed, there may be opportunities where, let's do something differently there, which might be an investment up front, but it'll be more cost effective at the end. And again, I think we want to be frugal, if you would, with the parkland that we have and make sure that it's used to its capacity and all of those kinds of things. And we've got to weigh that with the capacity that we have to maintain it and all of those kinds of things. So.
And I think another point too is we do kind of categorize our parks. We do have a category natural area. It's on brown on this map, and again, not the predominant park type in our system, but certainly we do have properties that, again, are kind of focused on that environmental, natural resource preservation aspect.
Woods restoration projects is also in there. Wow. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, given the costs are increasing every year for the city to maintain and develop parks, has this contribution from the developers been increasing as well through the years? Or has that been pretty stagnant?
From the perspective of the fee in lieu of parkland dedication and park improvement fees to develop the property, they've been staying relatively the same. But certainly our commitment, and not to say that the council and the mayor are not trying to provide us some additional capacity, that may not be quite at the highest, priority list because there's other things that are going on. But I will tell you that Anna, in the forestry department, we try to work a lot with partners and neighbors and things like that. And I will tell you that the community is so helpful in even just picking up a ground litter and all of those kinds of things. And our staff are pretty dedicated and really have kind of a let's get it done type of attitude. It may look, a little ragged in the spring when, things are growing fast and we can't quite keep up, but we always seem to kind of get caught up towards the end. So, yeah, we're always going to try and get some additional capacity and try to take it to the next level if we can, that's for sure.
And if I could pick up on that, and I mentioned it earlier, but one of our action items does talk about, again, exploring the way we get land and potentially making some tweaks to that. I think those ordinances are probably 30 years old.
Yeah.
And obviously times change, so we want to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck and resources that best serve the community. So.
Well, and respect the current property tax payer, what they pay to try to be as efficient as we can with those funds that were allocated. And be creative, try to figure out different ways to get things done. All right. If there isn't anything else for the good of the order, certainly there are other additional opportunities. Don't think that this is your last chance to offer any comments. We'll follow along in the Park Commission, and we'll be doing some work sessions with that group. So thanks for coming out. Oh, Patrick.
Not yet.
Patrick, okay. The floor is yours, Patrick.
Since that topic was opened, and I did see number 16 on the bottom there talked about, what is that? What is the first part of that sentence?
6.
The very bottom line. What does that read?
This one?
Yeah.
Park Commission recommendation of approval and council approval of park
What is it?
plan
What is it
update
again?
March
Park-
2022.
Park Commission recommendation of approval and council approval of plan update, March 2022.
Oh, that doesn't sound like what I was looking at. Anyway,
You looking for an action item, Patrick, or?
no, I just saw a line on there that was appropriate for what was related to the fee in lieu of land dedication, which I
Oh.
wanted to speak on. Maybe it was somewhere else. Anyway, oh, maybe over there. What's the bottom line on that one, Reed?
Maintain adequate levels of city financial resources and
That's it.
explore opportunities for non-profit financial resources to maintain and enhance the city system.
Right, the first part of that especially, maintain the financial resources. So, I have some thoughts on the fee in lieu of land dedication that I would like to propose. The fee in lieu of land dedication is currently $65,000 per acre, is the fee when a developer wants to essentially buy back an acre, each acre of land from the city that they were required, as you say, to dedicate based on number of units and all that formula stuff that they have to do for a new development. That fee has remained the same for a very long time. I've tried to figure out when it gets changed or how to change it. As far as I've been able to trace it, it's something the city council has jurisdiction over, but I've never heard them review it, research it, consider it, renew it, update it. And so I don't know exactly how the city council reviews that and might change the fee. I think the fee is exceedingly low. As a perfect example, I will give you an example of my property. I have a half an acre. For something more than 20 years, I don't know how far back, my land, the unimproved land, without counting the house improvements on it, was $65,000 per half acre. So times 2 at the acre rate, that's $130,000 per acre. $130,000, double $65,000 per acre. Just a couple of years ago, a whole lot of us in Fitchburg got reassessments, mostly increases as I heard, and mine went up by $10,600, so I'm now at $75,600 for a half acre, times 2 for the acre rate. That is $151,200 per acre, and yet we're still selling each acre of land back to the developer at $65,000, which I think is a below market rate, way too low fee in lieu of land. When Jay Allen was elected mayor, one of the other contenders for the mayoral race was Mark Vivian. And as a gesture, Mayor Jay Allen appointed Mark Vivian to the Park Commission at that time. Mark has been on for a very long time. He just recently took a different role, different committee. And I still remember a good quote that I liked. Mark Vivian said at his very first Park Commission meeting, we were talking about the fee and the land dedication and that general subject, and Mark said, "The developers will always take the land. It's more valuable to them." And it is, and very frequently we see the developers wanting that land back so that they can put houses on it and sell it for lots and paying the fee. I know of an acre of land right on the west side of McGaw Park east side of Nobel Drive, south on, no, it's Notre Dame Drive, just on the south end of there currently. Those lots, quarter-acre lots, I have heard are for sale for $120,000. That's $480,000 for an acre. Now that is with a street in front of it, and the water main, and the sanitary sewer, and the storm sewer, curb and gutter, sidewalk, all of that, which I know there's expenses to put those in. The other utilities, I kind of think MG&E puts in their electric line and their gas line, and Spectrum, I think, puts in their lines, and AT&T puts in their lines, I think, for free. I'm sure somebody could, verify that or not. On speculation of they will, charge the people who hook up to their utilities the fee, so they put the main lines in for free. I would kind of like to see the accounting ledgers of the expenses for putting in the streets and the under the street utilities and everything to see how much it costs to do all of that. I kind of doubt if it's $400,000 in front of an acre of land. So I propose that the council and Park Commission look into this, see what the market rate is for an acre of unimproved land, or land without a house on it, in other words, and look at increasing that fee, and I would like to see it doubled, like about $150,000 an acre. And then, according to that point on city resources that go into the parks, maybe we don't need so much more additional land as has been going recently, and the developers want the land. But if we raise the fee, we will get double or so of fees coming in to pay for parks and improvements and whatever facilities we want to put in the parks. But one little thing, I would suggest that if this is going to be discussed or anything every time be put in it, the very first thing needs to be done is put a moratorium on applications for fee in lieu of land and parks, otherwise there's liable to be a flurry of applications tomorrow morning from developers. Thank you.
And good point. Scott and I have had those conversations many a time. And again, I think we're starting to explore some potential revisions to those requirements. Yep.
Very good. If there isn't anything else for the good of the order, I think we'll call it a night. And again, we thank you on behalf of the Planning and Parks Department. Thank you for taking the time to come out and visit with us tonight. And there'll be other opportunities to voice more thoughts. Thanks, everybody. Thanks online for attending.